Well, I am very pleased that those of you who generally do come live on a Tuesday to be here are here. Maybe for the first time, I'm not too sure, but it's good. And it's good that we're able to get together like this. So let's say the 3 homages together, shall we? Homage to the Buddha. Homage to the Dharma. Homage to the Sangha. I've been contemplating for some time this business of being directed to be in the present moment or being in the now. It's something that you hear talked about quite a lot. I think often when talking about mindfulness, of being present in the moment, being here, being in the now. And I've been wondering what that actually means, because I don't actually think it's possible. Thank you, Chris. We've got somebody who's agreeing with me. We maybe even have talked about it together at some point, I'm not sure. So this is the subject of our conversation. And I want to let you know that my plan is to end, well, this is the plan, to end at 4:45, just as we would do, ready for midday service, going to midday service or going to the loo or whatever it is. So here we are sitting in meditation. Well, we are sitting in meditation. So how do you be in the now? Because it's always moving on, isn't it? We're always moving on from now to next now. So there you are, sitting in your room, so to speak, quietly, sitting. And I'm using a metaphor here, I hope it works. And sitting in your room, you hear a fly buzzing about. This is a thought, persistent thought. And you think, I'm going to be here now. And then you start to think about flies. Oh, that thought is really annoying. No, I'll just sit here. No, I'll just go and get it and escort it out. So instead of just sitting, you're busy trying to catch the fly, or in terms of a thought, trying to do something with it, for heaven's sakes, because it is, in quotes, bugging you. So one can spend quite a lot of time during meditation chasing a fly, but let's face it, it's more than just one. It might be a whole bunch, and you might find strategies, as with a fly, to open the window and escort it out, but of course it never goes. Strap it under a mug. You know, we've all got our methods to try and, in quotes, let go of the thoughts that come buzzing in and seem to land on one in very sticky feet and don't seem to go. Not easy. Annoying and distracting. If you think about it, that's duality. There's me and there's the fly. Me and it. Two things. And we all know that sitting is about not me and it, it's simply sitting. And what I want to move across from that image to actually my name. Some of you know the meaning of my name, Mugō. It's got a little macron over the O, which changes the meaning of the Go. And the Mu means immaculate, empty, or no. It's the purity. It's the purity that we have in the Scripture of Great Wisdom when form is only pure. What does it say? Pure is all form. Form is only pure. It's the Mu character. And then the Go means action, karma, and work. Put these seeming opposites or dualities together and you get Mugō. Immaculate action, empty karma, no work. So here's an example where the seeming opposites come together in a name, and they coexist and function quite happily. I am not two. I am simply undivided, whilst having these two attributes coming together in my name. Breaking with tradition, when I was about to ordain, one of the senior monks came to me and told me what my name was going to be and explained the meaning of it. And I'm afraid what slipped my lips was, "You've got to be joking." Wasn't a good response, I realized, but it just did not make sense to me. And I'd always been somebody who struggled with this conundrum that says the all is one and the all is different are not separate. And here I was with this metaphorical fly landing on my head or in my psyche to bug the life out of me. And so if I'm not alone, I don't think, in wondering, how can this be? The one and the difference not being separate, coexisting together. Me and the fly sitting, not being separate fundamentally. One time I was going up at the spiritual direction ceremony where Reverend Master Daisui was the senior on duty, and all the monks go up and ask in turn in public a question, a spiritual question. And I problem with the all is different? And I said, no. Does the all is different have a problem with the all is one? No. What's the problem? So I continued on my way with that one. Because they don't. The only problem is that this is one doesn't make sense to the ordinary mind. And I think, as you all have been around the block longer than most, you know that this is a koan that can only be really resolved by a leap of faith. So many leaps of faith I have taken in terms of facing the dual nature in terms of living in samsara and endeavoring to sit still within the midst of it. And sometimes that understanding does come unexpected times and places, and sometimes not. It doesn't change the fact that we live in samsara, and we live in nirvana, and nirvana and samsara are not separate. I wish you could see my notes. Actually, I think I'll show them to you later. They just make me smile. So what is happening when we're sitting in informal meditation? What is it? What is this? As Master Daishin repeats, that it's a way to bring yourself to ask that question and to put it down, by the way. It brings you into a lively attentiveness of being present in your body, in your mind, and in the environment that you're in. And then certainly sitting down isn't well, I use the word lively attentiveness, but it isn't attentiveness too. It's simply that you are awake, alive, and present, as we all are now, by the way. So here's how I have come to understand what's going on when we sit. And that is that we simultaneously are here and gone. In being lively and present here, we exist, clearly. We exist, and simultaneously we don't. We're gone. And we're both form and empty simultaneously. Pure, immaculate. Whatever the words are words. But and what I describe that as being in the presence of ongoing flowing, not able to, and definitely not attempting to catch any flies or anything more exotic whilst you sit. And part of one of our scriptures says, here born we clutch at things and then compound illusion later on. Our senses, I'm using my eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, sensation, we are so prone to grasp at things because actually our senses are there to might say it's our guidance system, isn't it? So in Zazen, our senses, whilst alive and awake, are not going out and grasping. So we endeavor to have enormous compassion for the flies that buzz about, not trying to get rid of them, not holding on to them. And I think it's a mental, don't like to say discipline because that brings in big sticks and all sorts to my mind. So I'm not wanting that to, but it's something that one gets accustomed to, and it's forever exercising the acceptance of what is there. And yeah, I think we're not looking for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. That's often why people come to practice. They're looking they're driven by something up ahead, you know, imagined better life, spiritual goodies. Yes, I use short form, chasing rainbows, or the pot of gold at the bottom of the rainbow. And, you know, like the carrot on the end of the string, it does kind of help us carry along, keep going. So some of us are come in because we want to catch flies and get rid, and others of us are rainbow chasers, and probably a bit of both for all of us. I think I was probably a rainbow chaser. You choose how you found yourself coming to this practice. So moving off the cushion, bench, chair, and even before getting off the cushion, to remind us all that when you sit, consciously or unconsciously, you're making a deliberate decision not to do anything apart from be attentively present. You're actually employing your agency, your ability to make a decision for yourself, to intend not to do anything, from the most ordinary to wriggling or wriggling or looking around or whatever. And then getting up from your sitting place to where into what we lovingly call daily life, fondly call daily life. And this we have this saying, don't we? Bring the mind of meditation into daily life. There's another one that can furrow the brow. How are you going to do two things? You're going to sit still and not do stuff, and also get on and make the toast. So quite quickly, entering into daily life, one enters into the world of activity and action and engaging. One's senses are actually engaged with deliberately on what you're looking at, what your arms are doing, what your legs are taking you towards. So how do you bring meditation into daily life? Well, I'll tell you how I talk about this. Well, meditation isn't actually something that you do, it's more something that you are. Meditation does you in a way. And so there's in meditation, you lower your eyes and you there's an interior, what's the word? Interiorness. It's probably not a good word, to your being. And when one is out and about and doing things, one's more awareness is focused outside of your skin. You might call that your field of awareness or field of consciousness is predominantly out there, engaged with action. Just sitting down and drinking a cup of tea and watching the television is action, because it has that exterior aspect. Yet still there is that interior. You don't lose touch with the conscious person. It's just that it's not quite as, how how do you say, distinct or fine contact. And we all know, I'm sure, of totally getting lost in whatever's going on, especially if you've got many flies buzzing about you, and you can end up three hours or 3 days later going, God, where did meditation go to? What I suggest is that it is actually quite easy to make quite a deliberate decision when you notice, and that's the important thing, when you notice that you're all drawn out into whatever, which is perfectly natural. It would be not quite right if you weren't drawn into the world. But you can choose to, at the same time, flip your awareness into your body mind. I'm looking at Ashley, actually. I'm thinking, this is what you can do when you're running, you know, to flip your, which I think is actually with physical exercise, there is an interiorness that clicks in kind of its own, from my experience of walking, especially in the hills. So that's a way to maintain a level of reflectiveness, let's put it that way, self-reflection, whilst being outward, without becoming a completely tiresome person to yourself. And if you find yourself, and usually this is when your eyes are lowered, particularly when you're walking, what I call that is walking along unhelpfully ruminating on something. Also, it doesn't aid your progress. If you're not looking at where you're going, it's just probably not such a good way to get about. So a good way to notice if you are overly interiorly, let's look up that word might be, to flip your attention, and that's precisely what I do, because I can be pondering on all sorts of things when I'm walking, but I flip my eyes up to the horizontal level and take in the scene, not labeling it nice or nasty, but just taking it in like water over my face, perhaps. And that brings me into myself, what I like to call myself, me, and the world around. So that's my version of meditation in daily life, because I think all of you have taken the precepts, so you have the intention to and you don't have to become tiresome with yourself about the precepts either. Was that thought against the, you know, judging yourself, measuring yourself against the precepts? I think all of you have been at this long enough to trust that once you've renewed your promise, possibly in the mornings with the Kesa verse, that's your intention, and you can trust that that is the operating principle of your life. Not too bad, eh? I've got a couple more points, maybe just one more point to make here. So as you see that with connecting with the what I call fields of awareness or fields of consciousness, it shaves off the, well, it shaves off the duality of me and it, basically. Me and the universe, me and you, etc. You know, it's a deliberate bringing your attention into that, the sphere that you live, subject object. And there will always be, in the world of samsara, subject object. This is the world we live in. And there's also the fact that we are, I'm going to say it, stardust. We're, what is it, Daigen? Carbon.
Well, stardust could be a whole bunch of stuff, Mugō.
No, carbon is carbon. It's millions of years old carbon, isn't it?
Yeah, well, all the atoms that make up our body are timeless, because
Yes,
nothing's ever lost.
thank you. That's why he's here. You see, he's a new teacher. He can wise me up. Thank you, Tiger. And
Scientific
anybody,
advisor.
and if any of you are familiar with Joni Mitchell song, "We Are Stardust, We Are Golden." I love that song. Unfortunately, I printed it out, but I don't have it with me. The last line is particularly good. Something about returning, get back to the garden. Yes, I see a few nods.
And we've got to get ourselves back to the garden.
Thank you, Chris. I know your accent so well. Right, drop all of that. Very young, I must have been about 15. I got this, as you do, I got this notebook where I called it my book of wisdom. One of the ones that I remember was there's always a grain of truth in all paranoia, which I thought was very good. And the other one I remember is we live in the presence of constant choice. So that's pretty interesting. And I just would like to briefly shine a light on the first of the 3 pure precepts. I think you're all familiar with the pure precepts, 3 pure precepts. Cease from harmful habitual action. Do that which is good. And as a consequence, my version of the last one, be good for others because of having ceased from habitual action and doing that which is good. You are being good for others, right out there in the garden of the Bodhisattvas. But ceasing, refraining, stopping, in relationship to something, we talked about that in Zazen, is an ever-present, not stick to beat yourself with, but an ever-present choice about what you choose to do and not do. You don't actually need to know whether it's harmful or not, but you choose constantly, and that is our lives, isn't it? Sometimes it can feel like my choices have been taken away from me and circumstances are dragging me along by the nose. But actually, on gross and more subtle levels, we do have a choice. And currently I'm looking at speech, what comes out of my mouth and how I respond in conversation. Because it's very easy to shoot from the lip in the hasty moments. And it can, let's say, so I am choosing my words and choosing to be careful about encouraging dualistic thoughts in both myself and others, judgments, of course, me and it. And so I just wanted to highlight that as I think highlight the thing of choice, and that exercising one's agency, exercising it, not in a self-condemnation that maybe that's the project of a lifetime, to be seeing, but simply seeing one's habit of relationship to one's, what we like to call ourselves, not because there's anything to get rid of or anything to add on, there's the fly catching and the rainbow chasing right there, you know, right there. I hope it makes you smile, and I hope you remember it. Be not a fly catcher or a rainbow chaser, whatever the word, be not. And yes, I have got, so that's something to contemplate. I don't need to do that work for you. Somebody said, or it's a very common thing of thinking, oh, I'm not really, of being a bit undutiful as a Buddhist, not doing enough practice. That to me is like saying, I'm not doing enough living. And I'm afraid you can't do more living than you're already living unless you want to, you know, go and climb Mount Everest. But that's what is, what was that expression, Reverend Daigen? The Golden Castle or something?
Sorry, don't know.
What Reverend Master Daishin said about from the Lotus, Sutra.
Yeah, the Magic City.
The Magic
whole world
City.
is magic cities.
Yes, we have magic cities that we, you know, are imagined better life, kind of creating a magic city up ahead. It's sort of like rainbow chasing, only bigger. So I have, yeah, I think that in the beginning we have to recognize that things do change as you go on in life, and unseen, really, unseen by us, that things do change. For example, when I first got my name, I couldn't even remember it. I had to look above my sitting place to see the name. Oh, that's right, it's Mugō. I've got to remember that. Similarly, you know, when you first take the precepts on, you're going, oh, what are the precepts and where does that fit in? And so you're a little bit more self-conscious about them. But as time goes on, you have that intention to keep true to them. And when you don't, you kind of don't feel so good. So you do have a sense of not a disease when things aren't quite, you've kind of got run away with yourself a bit with habit. And the sort of con of daily life begins to be less of a ants in your pants kind of a thing. I don't know where that came from. And more that you can kind of live with it, just like with the flies flying around. And I think you also, yeah, that was the turning point for me with Rev Master Daiswa's answer. I stopped worrying about one and different. I just dropped it. Sorry, no, I don't need that. And as time goes on, if you allow yourself to simply live and engage with your life, your actions, your offering, there is a deeper how can I put it? I'm looking out the window for inspiration. A depth, let's say a depth. And what was it you said about stardust? It's there's nothing. We're all we're connected. We're connected. We're not divided by time or space, really, are we? What did you say, Reverend Daigen? No. No.
Atoms are timeless because nothing's ever created or destroyed, only ever changed. See,
science is great, isn't it? There's a law of the universe that's postulated, which is expounded, which, you know, we, in theistic language, which we tend not to use now, that all beings have an intuitive knowledge of the unborn. Well, yes, we're not separate from, so why would it be even a question?